From infrastructure to growth to development, there's a lot going on in the town of Mount Pleasant. Today, I talk exclusively with Town Administrator Eric DeMoura for this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups. And if you haven't already, subscribe to my YouTube channel and like Quintin's Close-Ups on Facebook. Eric DeMoura, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups.
It's great to be here. Thank you for having me.
Oh, I appreciate it greatly. Obviously, you are the Town Administrator for the town of Mount Pleasant. Let me ask you this, Eric. What is the state of the town of Mount Pleasant right now, as you know it?
State of the town is strong, Quintin. We have wonderful people, which is our greatest asset. They care about the community. They care about their quality of life. Our quality of life is strong. Our businesses are strong. They've been through a very difficult time, but they're emerging quickly. The state of the town government is strong. So, Mount Pleasant's in a good position right now to really even get better as the years go by.
What position are you in when it comes to the town budget?
We're doing okay. We monitor our revenues very closely. As you know very well, it's not unique to Mount Pleasant, but I was about to say local government, but really all organizations, most organizations, really went through a difficult time as a result of COVID. And for us, a lot of revenues we rely on, some business revenues.
Right.
And so, but we had fairly strong reserves that we could rely on. We made budget adjustments and we planned accordingly to be able to weather the storm. And I think we've come out of it okay. And I meet with our financial team and our CFO regularly to monitor the revenues as they're coming in. And they're coming in okay, which means that from a budget perspective, we're going to be just fine.
Just fine. Let me ask you this. What is the general government fund right now?
Oh, we're close to $90 million just in the general fund side. But all in with all of our budgets, which include our capital budget, which is a separate type thing. That's for long-term capital projects, high dollar usually. We're well over $100 million.
Now, obviously, you are at town hall right now. Let me ask you this. In the budget, is there any money for office supplies by chance?
Oh, sure, of course.
Okay.
Of course. It takes a lot of things to run the place and to provide services to our community and our citizens. And so, we fund office supplies and pay and wages and benefits and all those things. We're mostly a service organization, and so most of our money is in pay and support of our human resources, our employees.
As a matter of fact, when you talk about the budget, let me ask you about the fire department budget, Eric. Why, in your mind, do you think there's more money for office supplies versus such things like hoses and nozzles?
Oh, I'm not sure where you're getting those figures from, Quintin. That wouldn't even make sense to me. I mean, it's now office supplies. You're talking about paper and pencils and things like that. Equipment for the fire department is much more expensive than that, especially when you get to uniforms and protective gear. I have no doubt that what we spend on equipment far exceeds what we spend on office supplies.
And let me ask you this as we talk about the fire department. Obviously, you know all about what's going on right now as far as a pay increase, which is proposed for the fire department. Why does the mayor think that a 4% raise will work?
Well, we think that we're on a good path of recovery, and that the town will be able to support that. But let me challenge you for a second in that, because we're focusing in on the fire department, but it's not just about firefighters. They're very talented and they're extremely important to us and our organization, our community. But we can't forget about our police officers, our building inspectors, our traffic engineers, all the employees at the town. So when we talk about pay, it's really important to talk about employees as a whole and whether they're being paid a competitive market rate. You know, Quintin, we strive for three things here at the town. These are the things we aspire to. Competitive pay is number one. Having excellent benefits is number two. And having strong working conditions is number three. We have excellent benefits and we have excellent working conditions. We're building new fire stations and new facilities, and we put a lot of money into new equipment. So the latter two of the three I mentioned are in good shape. When it comes to competitive pay, the town has always been there for its employees, ever since I've been here. As a matter of fact, one of our guiding documents at the town is our strategic plan.
Right.
We've had three of them here in my tenure. And each strategic plan has directed us every 4 years to go ahead and do a wage study so that we can ensure that we're being competitive in the marketplace. Ever since we've had that direction, council has funded a wage study and they've implemented results of that wage study. What happened last time, the results of the last wage study were actually included for council's consideration in the budget that was up for discussion right as COVID impacted and right as COVID hit. And so at the time, council decided, and it was the prudent move, was to hold on an increase in wages because no one knew at the time the full impact of COVID on revenues. And so, however, COVID is still here with us, we know, but we're getting a better look at what our revenues look like. And what we've done is gone ahead and initiated an update to that wage study. And we'll have the results back in 45 to 60 days, and we'll share the results with council. And I have no doubt that they'll take the recommendations very seriously.
Now, some people may think that with the 4%, the mayor thinks that the 4% might work. Does that come out to pennies because they are so underpaid at this point?
I don't think it comes out to pennies. I think it comes out to real money for individuals. As I said, we're working hard right now on updating the wage study. I mentioned that one of the things we aspire to is competitive wages in the marketplace, and we'll have those results soon, and we'll share those results with town council.
Would a small increase in taxes, Eric, more than cover the increase in this pay?
Well, I don't think an increase in taxes is necessary. I fully expect, due to the resilience of our community, that the money will already be there in our budget to be able to implement whatever comes out of the wage study. So I have no doubt. You know, and please understand, Quintin, you know, I read the newspaper too. Town council has always been there for the employees of this town, always. As a matter of fact, when times were toughest, people were able to maintain their jobs, even though when there was questions on revenues and whether we could keep the lights on around. People kept their jobs and their benefits, and even during those times, council went ahead and implemented what they could, what the town could afford at the time. That included bonuses and waivers on premiums that employees may have to pay for health insurance. And even last year, when COVID struck and council couldn't go ahead and implement the wage study, they did go ahead and implement what they could, and that was changes to our benefits, which resulted in improvement in vacation pay, an extra paid holiday, and things like that. So, you know, from my perspective, because I've had the opportunity to see it from this position for some time, council's always been there for employees, and I have no doubt that they'll try to do the same when the information is ready.
Let me go back to the fire department, Eric. Will you direct the fire department to develop a special pay initiative plan for all ranks to earn extra incentive pay for specific job functions and tasks and implement it through the negotiation process, that is?
Well, Quintin, I'm not sure I understand the question. I do understand incentive pay, and that is something that we do offer here at the town. If there needs to be tweaks to incentive pay, then we'll be happy to look at it. But you know, our objective right now, I said the three things that we aspire to, and how the latter two are doing very well. Our objective right now is to get a wage study done, find out what the market rate is, try to do a little better than the market rate if we can, and implement.
address the rates of pay to fire department employees for the job classes of firefighter and captain?
Quentin, I can't possibly in this discussion have that information in front of me.
How will you establish a competitive standard position of pay and benefits among those jurisdictions chosen for benchmarking, that is fiscally responsible with public resources, but achieve, organizational goals and objectives?
Well, as I mentioned before, I believe that because of the resiliency of this community and the town government, that we should be able to implement the recommendations of the wage study. And by doing that, I think that takes care of a lot of the things that you're talking about.
Will you continue to maintain, or the fire department maintain, the system of pay grades that the state, the minimum and maximum rates that the town will pay individuals with a job class?
Quentin, I think I've answered this question. I don't know how else to answer it. You're talking about classes, which may be talking about incentives. You're getting very specific into details of things that I couldn't possibly answer in front of you right now.
Should the fire department consider establishing a DOROP drop plan to compete with the local market or retirement benefits?
Quentin, we're doing a wage study. It'll be the draft will come to us at the staff level. It'll be reviewed by myself, along with our financial team, as well as the fire department leadership. And as I said over and over again in this interview, whatever the recommendations come out that make sense and that work, we think, for our men and women, those are the recommendations that will go to town council.
Let me turn over to Shim Creek and the Shim Creek Restaurants and Music. This is coming from WCBD. A Shim Creek restaurant is fighting a nearly $500 fine that they were issued last week for being too loud, reportedly. Vickery's was ticketed for violating Mount Pleasant's noise ordinance back on Monday, July 26, around 5:30 in the afternoon. The town's noise ordinance bans amplified music, but Vickery's booking manager, Jacob Robinson, says they have live amplified music for years with little to no problems. Robinson says it's unfair for the opinion of a select few individuals to outweigh the opinion of thousands of people at one of the the town's largest economic engines. Robinson told Channel 2, quote, "What I would like to see happen is that they amend the ordinance to allow a specific time and then even, a decimal level to allow it at certain points. I know a spokesperson for the Mount Pleasant Police Department confirms they are in the process of setting up a meeting with the Shim Creek business owners and managers in regards to the town's noise ordinance. And if Mount Pleasant, and I'm wondering this too, Eric, if Mount Pleasant Police Department is going to have a meeting with the businesses about the ordinances, regardless of how long the said ordinance has been on the books, should this particular violation should be only just a warning?"
And listen, I've been here a few years, and I can tell you that the relationship between a very successful Shem Creek business area and the neighborhoods around it has been a challenge and a bit of a delicate dance at times because we want our businesses to be successful. Shem Creek's a wonderful place. I don't need to tell our viewers that; they already know.
I was just there yesterday.
They were great. Well, thank you for being there. But at the same time, to protect the quality of life of our people who have our residents who live nearby, that is just as important as the ability to have bands and loud amplified music on Shim Creek. So should we have a change to the ordinance? Perhaps. That's council's realm, and it's likely that this issue will come up over the next several weeks. But we have often, our police department has been terrific in this, trying to find the balance between giving businesses what they need, but also giving nearby residents who have been there a long time peace in where they live. And so that'll continue to be our process going forward. I can tell you, I've been at Shim Creek many times, and I've been there and music's been too loud. It's just been too loud, And as you probably know, and certainly many of your viewers do, noise travels down water. It travels quickly and over water, and it lands on our residents nearby. And so our effort, which always has been there, will be to try to find a balance so everybody can enjoy and be successful.
Let me ask you this, Eric. I know the town actually allows fireworks, but not acoustic music, apparently. How does this all make sense?
Well, see, that's an excellent question. But the reason why fireworks is allowed is because it's allowed by state law, and local governments cannot preempt that law. So we do have control over noise, though, and that is the issue at hand.
How should Shim Creek compromise and the town of Mount Pleasant actually wake up?
I'm not sure I understand the question.
How should you all compromise and face reality?
Well, I think everyone has to be reasonable. I think on the residential side, they have a right to peaceful enjoyment of their property, and so what works for them is going to be important. And so, what does that mean? It probably means time frames where music can't be played at night. It probably means a control on noise, how loud it is. I think that's a reasonable request of the residents. And so that has to be heard by the business owners too. And they're trying to make a living. They're trying to be successful in their business. We want that to happen. So some balance has to occur that probably allows perhaps a little more free reign for the businesses to be able to have in entertainment, but with some caps on it, with some caps on noise, some caps on time frames, so that it's protective of the residential areas.
Let me go right around the corner to Mill Street. According to WCIV, members of the Mount Pleasant Commercial Design Review Board took a look at plans that is for a boutique hotel on Shim Creek last night. And during the meeting on Wednesday evening, leaders discussed the proposal for the Shim Creek boutique hotel, which is slated to be constructed along Mill Street. Builders are seeking preliminary approval for the structure, which will allow obviously a rooftop pool and a spa, lodging across 3 main buildings, and on-site parking. The proposal hotel will be within walking distance of several popular restaurants and the Shim Creek boat landing, of course. I know that the town doesn't have infrastructure to accommodate this without disturbing the community. Did the town or the architect poll the community before this?
Well, Quintin, it's the law. The zoning on the property is neighborhood commercial, and it has been that way, I think, since the 1980s. Okay. In fact, any type of hotel of any size was allowed on neighborhood commercial property up until 2014, until it was reduced where neighborhood commercial can only have what's described as a boutique hotel. And so that's it's a permitted use for the property. And the property owner has seized upon that use and has proposed this project. And so that's where we are. They have parking requirements. That's what the town requires for any project. It appears from the documents I've seen that they meet the parking requirements. Okay. So as far as the infrastructure comment, I believe it's 27 units total, and perhaps as many as 35 parking spaces. And my read of their proposal was that they're even going to pursue some parking spots along the side of the road that can't be counted towards their parking requirement, but to try to add additional spaces. So, that's my realm here at the town is on the operational side, is to make sure that staff acts professionally and follows the law that's on the books. And the law on the books allows for the use that's been proposed.
Who and when actually approved this, I should say?
Well, as I said, it's been on the books since the 80s. I believe it was 1983. The neighborhood commercial zoning was approved in town. So that's a long time ago. And then it was up until 2014 that you could build any size hotel. If my memory serves me correctly. You could build any size hotel in neighborhood commercial. It was only reduced to what you see more like today in 2014. So, I understand that the project is not agreeable to some. I completely understand that. I understand the reasons why. However, the zoning on the books allows for it. I will say, though, for those who perhaps are concerned about quality of life in the community and management of growth, the town council has passed goodness, dozens, scores even of changes to the town's growth and development regulations that have been a move towards preserving quality of life. Things from lowering building heights to densities and really big issues. Controls on short-term rentals and controls on multifamily housing. They have passed many things, many big sweeping things that have helped to control growth and maintain quality of life.
How is there a 3-year moratorium home building but not on retail and commercial?
Well, I think the concern is on residential, is the impact of residential when it comes to traffic trips and some other things. That's why there's a moratorium on multifamily, on apartments. But I know town council, I believe as a whole, is they're pro-business, and they believe in good jobs and good businesses, trying to maintain and keep residents here in town, providing good jobs so that perhaps for some, they don't have to commute different places and contribute to mobility problems by having good jobs where they can stay here at home.
It looks like Eric DeMoura are already asking that is for variance. Is that true?
Who is that?
The boutique, the folks who want the boutique hotel.
Yeah, well, they did, and they went to. Forgive my memory if it's a month or so off. But yes, the owners of this project did ask for a variance, which goes to the Board of Zoning Appeals, to a public meeting. And so that went back in the spring, I want to say March or April timeframe. Can't recall the exact month. But it went to the Board of Zoning Appeal for a variance and was denied.
Now, are they actually, I hate to ask this, are they displacing any wetlands?
Not that I'm aware of.
And I know, obviously, unfortunately, the shrimping population is already declining. How much green space will be actually around this hotel?
Well, listen, we've taken great strides to help the shrimping industry. And I've been out on Shim Creek several times and noticed many shrimp boats, and even a few more than we've had in the past. So, town council went ahead and acquired a vulnerable piece of property to end up supporting our shrimpers, and I think that has paid dividends for us. So, and as far as green space and what people are doing with their property, I mean, some of the stuff is getting into the private property where the government only has so much control unless we want to buy the property, and there's only so much money to do that. And I did mention just a second ago the acquisition of the property in support, which was along Shem Creek, in support of the shrimping industry.
And I know this might be a backwards question. I probably should have asked it earlier, but can it be built without any variances or wetland offsets being granted?
As far as I know, it appears so. A variance request is to do something greater than the ordinances allow, and usually it has to do with a hardship or some other things. And so that was denied, as I mentioned. So then the property owner is back to just what's allowed by right based on the zone.
And how many parking spots, and what will be the size of each parking space?
Well, we have standards on how big a parking spot has to be. I don't remember that off the top of my head, but we have our standards. They have required parking that they have to meet. And as far as I understand it, they're meeting the required parking. And they have to build those parking spaces in accordance with town law.
Now, when we talk about Shim Creek and the surrounding areas, who are these companies who are being given contracts to do studies on Shim Creek and other notable locations in Mount Pleasant?
I don't follow. Who are these
companies?
I don't understand the question.
The companies that you all are granting obviously contracts to do studies on Shim Creek and whatnot. Who are these companies? I think I understand where you're going with it. The question's not very clear. So the comprehensive plan. Okay.
What it does is it charts. Comprehensive plan is a 10-year document.
Right.
It charts out a course of action on several different things, not just land use, but there are other components of it as well. And it says that it lays out things that need to be worked on that are more urgent to be worked on the first year or two of the plan. There's a medium time frame and a longer time frame. That's what's adopted in the comprehensive plan. We have gotten to work. We've already achieved some of the things in the comprehensive plan. But one of the things that is to be worked on right away is a greater management plan for the Shem Creek area, and which is very important to council. And so we've taken that on. To help us with that, we hire a consultant to help review what's out there on the books right now and recommend changes. And that is going through the process right now with the Planning Commission. And so, from time to time, we hire consultants, which is fairly ordinary. I will say that the comprehensive plan specifically states that a review of the zoning area that I mentioned, the neighborhood commercial, is a medium-term look. So that there were some things, as I mentioned, Shim Creek and some other areas that were immediate term, but the neighborhood commercial zoning district and things that can be a part of it were a medium term type thing. In other words, something that the town is supposed to get to in 3 to 4 years or so.
Now, who are these consultants?
Consultants are hired through an RFP or RFQ process at the town.
Okay.
Our procurement process is excellent. I think just about every industry that's out there knows that our procurement process is strong and that our citizens are well protected in how we procure services. So when it came to searching for a consultant for this particular area, for this particular work, we issue what's called an RFQ, which is a request for qualifications, and they have to compete based on the quality of their work and their experience. And so those are the individuals that get selected to help work on some of these plans.
And let me take you up to North Mount Pleasant. What's the latest right now as far as the debate over the widening of Highway 41?
Well, I can't tell you what the latest is until I'll be at Charleston County's meeting tonight.
Okay.
Where they're presenting in front of the county's finance committee the latest schematics for the Highway 41 project. And until I'm able to be there and see that with my own eyes, it's tough to answer that question.
No worries at all. Well, Eric DeMoura, thank you so much for your time. And again, welcome back to Quintin's Close-Ups, and hope to interview you again.
Hey, always enjoy it. Take care, Quintin. Good to see you.
Likewise.